Hi everybody, Rockin here.
Marky Z, and welcome to the Rockin House. Today's special guest we have all the way from North Carolina is Joe Davis of the Joe Davis Band with a southern metal edge to his music. Got to check this guy out. Also, previous band Dark Horse. Rock dude.
Yeah, Joe Davis is from North Carolina, and he's been a professional recording artist for the last 30 years. And yeah, as you would think, from North Carolina, he would have some southern rock in his music, but overall, it just packs a heavy punch. So go ahead, Mark.
All right, so why don't we get Joe on the show? Let's welcome Joe Davis to the Rockin House. All right, we got special guest today, Joe Davis of the Joe Davis Band on the Rockin House. How's it going, Joe, from North Carolina today?
Hey, man, it's going pretty good. I hope you guys are doing great.
Absolutely, brother. We're so happy to have you on the show as our special guest today. Joe, let's talk about some things here. Let's go back to Dark Horse. That was a band that you were in before, the Joe Davis Band. Give our listeners and viewers a little bit of insight on how, Joe Davis Band came about from the Dark Horse Band.
All right. Well, just to start off is, I've been playing guitar my entire life, and I worked in a lot of different bands. Okay. Somewhere in the early 90s, I got involved with a band out of Charlotte, North Carolina. It was Dark Horse. It was your four-piece, loud, abrasive, rowdy, raw, heavy metal, hard rock. Absolutely a diabolical, unbelievable, powerful band that I probably spent 10 years of my life with, roughly, and during that time, we wrote a lot of songs, we did a lot of music, we did a lot of shows, played with a lot of acts over the years. Nice. And somewhere towards the later part of Dark Horse, I had started wanting to do a lot of my own music. It was Dark Horse never ended. There was no stopping Dark Horse. It was just two of the members of Dark Horse had passed away, and they were young guys, which was kind of a rough. It was just kind of a rough deal. They were young people, young guys, and they had issues and things. And me and the singer both wanted, John Allen Solomon, he wanted to, we both had different ideas about what music we were working on at the time. And me and John are still dear friends, and we're brothers, and Dark Horse never really ended. But I started to want to sing and do kind of my own ideas and started implementing my own things. And that's kind of what happened. There was never like, you see all these bands that break up because some bad blood or anything like that. Right. Dark Horse never ended due to that at all. Dark Horse just never stopped. It just, one day we decided to go, he wanted to go over here, I wanted to go over there. It was not even an issue. There was no conversation. It was just, we still to this day want to work together.
That's great.
But I started wanting to do my own thing, and I wound up going out and test driving some of the songs I was writing with basically a cover band that I had created. It was called Super Mule. And Super Mule attracted the attention of Columbia Records, which the lady from the record company, she wanted to change the name of the band to the Joe Davis Band, which I was actually against. Okay. And because I didn't feel like that's the direction, that I wanted to go. But she wanted to kind of solidify the fact that I was driving the truck, I was setting up the PA, I was writing the songs, I was coming up with the artwork, I was doing all this stuff.
Right.
And she really wanted me to become more of an owner of my own music. And so I kind of rolled with it, and it took a life of its own. I didn't actually work the deal out with Columbia, but we wound up taking a lot of their advice, and I went on to put out 8 or 9 albums and a couple sold-out DVDs from some of these bigger venues, and we had a great success in the Joe Davis Band.
Great.
And we played shows over the years with a lot of different people. Right. And where I wound up becoming the front man, I was always a side guy. I was always the guitar player, and I wound up being the singer. And I never really wanted to be the singer either. I was always like the singer from Dark Horse.
Right.
But I wanted to work on more music, even more songs, and work 24/7 on songs, and just create, have the freedom to paint whatever pictures I wanted to paint.
Okay.
And that's kind of what happened. So, the Joe Davis Band is a 3-piece power trio.
Right.
I play guitar and sing, and I have a drummer and a bass player, David Felizi and Gene King, and we've very established ourselves throughout, the Southeast, and we're very fortunate to have a nice fan base, and we worked really hard on building. Over the years, I had a lot of ups and downs and things like that with the Joe Davis Band.
Okay.
but we've managed to hold on, like I said, to about I think I have like 8 albums or 9 albums out,
That's great.
and
Nice.
we got deals over the years leading up to our new album, The Blue and the Gray.
Right.
It's which was out, and but there was so many things that had happened over the years. I mean, we attracted the attention of like Guitar World magazine. We attracted the attention of a lot of musicians. We attracted the attention of just various different people that I never dreamed in a million years would give us the time of day.
Right.
So, but the Joe Davis Band is a Southern heavy metal hard rock band with
Oh
a
yeah,
lot
you
of
guys rock, man.
it's there's so much to it. I don't like labels, and but everybody keeps trying to shove us into this Southern rock territory. We're just because we're from the South does not mean we're a Southern rock band. We have Southern rock influence.
Trying to stereotype you guys.
Leonard and stuff. So, but we have a metal element in our music because we were raised on Black Sabbath and the heavy metal stuff. So and that's where we kind of mix it all together. It's almost like Sabbath meets Skinner or something like that, or maybe Government Mule meets Pantera. You know what I mean? It's somewhere in there, and it's a variety of songs, a variety of music. We love the acoustic stuff as much as we like the heavy stuff, and we do. But it's all the Joe Davis Band. It all falls under the same Joe Davis Band title.
Well, Joe, let me ask you this, and that's great. And I want to get into talking about the new album that's come out, the Blue and the Gray, so our listeners can know about that as well. But right now, I'd like to talk a little about. I noticed you got that lightning bolt around your neck. Does that have any kind of symbolic reason why you wear that lightning bolt? Maybe as something to do with your music career?
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Over the several decades of playing guitar and singing and doing shows all over and everything, I lost a lot of friends, met a lot of people.
Sure.
And we had friends out there over the years. And when I was on the road in 2003, I was out of Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, hanging around Chambersburg a lot, and I was doing some business with some of the members of the Allman Brothers had beckoned to call, and we were talking to some of the guys, and a couple of them live near there, and we were talking to them. So I was staying in the area, and but I worked at a cemetery in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and I made the lightning bolt out of a piece of bronze that was off of a date marker, and it was just a reminder that life is short, and that we're supposed to take a minute of every day and use it for the absolute best that we can, no matter what. I mean, I wear it. I've always I take it off to clean it, and I try to. It's just a reminder because people forget that everything can change in the blink of an eye in life, and they take so many things for granted, and they don't get it. And when you have, like, we had a lot of people come and go. I mean, I had some personal people. We had some deaths in the family. We had some family members, and we had some band members that passed away.
Right.
And we lost a lot of people over the years, especially working so hard as we did in the music industry. We've seen so many crazy things, people come and go. Right. And it's a reminder that life is like a flash of light, man. It's like it could be over. It could all end in 10 minutes from now, and it would all be over. But if it did end in 10 minutes, what did you do today? What have you done today?
Right.
What are you do today? And what have you done to help somebody else? What have you done to reach out to somebody else's life and make a difference? It's like getting off your butt and doing something positive for mankind.
Back here at the Rockin House with Joe Davis again. What's up, brother?
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Listen, I want to talk about the new release of the album, The Blue and the Gray, bro. That album rocks. Hand of God. I love that song, and a couple other songs on there I've been listening to rock too. Let's tell our viewers and listeners a little about the release of that album, how things are going with the album.
Well, Blue and the Gray was, I think, it was the follow-up album to an album called The Brink of Destruction, which came out 3 or 4 years ago, and we were in the middle of promoting and touring to try to support it. And we had started experimenting with some new sounds at rehearsal and starting to really get back to our, I'll say, heavy metal roots.
Right.
And we had started working on these albums and this album, and it kind of it started to evolve into it snowballed into an album. We were actually just writing ideas, knocking around things, and these days shows are few and far between as far as like tours and things like that. So
Yeah.
we were,
Oh yeah.
and coming from spending my entire life on the road, living out of a guitar case, I was okay with taking some time at home and working on some of the new songs and stuff because it was fun. We were actually, it was like being 18 years old in the band room again, and we started writing all these crazy song ideas, and we condensed it down to about 12 songs.
Right.
And then we just started experimenting with some of these new sounds and things, and we recorded. We did the first album we've ever done mostly here at the house. I did most of the recording here, and it probably took us 8 months to record it on and off. We would work on it when we felt like it. We kind of just, had fun. Like I said, we had fun with it. But the biggest thing of the album was the fact that the album brings forth a message. And the message is basically a message of unity among anybody. The Blue and the Gray the concept was the fact that my drummer David is from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And he's a northern guy, and I'm kind of a southern guy. So when we met, it was kind of, we had all these ideas, but we both wound up meeting in the middle. So he kept saying the north meets the south, and I said, "Nah, man, it's the Blue and the Gray," because it was
okay.
based off the Civil War thing. Because
Right.
Union soldier and Confederate soldier, even though some of our just because you're from the south doesn't mean your family fought in the Confederate War. But anyway, I'm just saying that it's like we met like that, and it was like a positive and a negative, or a yin and a yang, where we both met in the middle, and it became the Blue and the Gray. Well, if you listen to the lyrics of the song, "The Blue and the Gray," it's it's the song basically depicts that. It's like a song of unity, and it could be about anybody. It could be about any group of people. It could be about any situation.
Sure.
But it's about people coming together because it says it in the song. Don't get lost along the way, like the Blue and the Gray.
Right.
That's what it means.
Okay.
let's
switch gears
yes.
just a little bit, if you don't mind, about Peter Resti. Now, we know him personally. He's touched our lives in music, and we both miss him very dearly. And rest in peace, Petey. And I just want our listeners and viewers just to get a little glimpse to understand how he came into our lives, your life. For 6 years, you were on tour, on the road with Peter, and you've experienced some amazing things working with one of the best road dogs in the industry. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Pete Resti was Tony Iommi's guitar guy.
Oh yeah.
And in a tech for Black Sabbath for 30 years. He also worked for Manowar. He worked for Deep Purple. He worked for Richie Blackmore.
Yep.
He worked for Brian May. He worked for countless others over the years that were musical heroes of a lot of ours and a lot of fans. His biggest thing, though, is, like I said, most people don't get the opportunity that Pete had, and the situation that he went through. Like I said, he spent his life working for Black Sabbath, which is the #1 greatest heavy metal band of all time.
Oh yeah.
And and it has influenced more guitar players and musicians than any band ever will be, and there's no doubt about that.
Correct.
And I'm so fortunate in my travels to meet Pete Resti, and I met Pete originally through. I played a show at Tremont Music Hall in Charlotte, North Carolina one night.
Nice.
And after the show, I went on Facebook and I put I was having some problems with a couple of my road crew guys, and I wrote some things on Facebook I shouldn't have wrote. And Pete answered some of the messages and was real outspoken about what he had to say. Well, at the time it wasn't. And he was very brutal towards me. And I said, "Who are you? Who are you to be even talking to me?"
Right.
And sent me his phone number at 4:00 in the morning, and I called him, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, "You're what? You went where? You did what?" And next thing you know, we're communicating and we're talking, and next thing you know, we're friends. And it was
Right?
really strange because, like I said, he had this, here I am, you know, Les Paul overalls fighting maniac down here from Kannapolis, North Carolina, home of Dale Earnhardt, home of every this and that and other. And we're fighting the fight for heavy metal and hard rock music everywhere. And here's the #1 Black Sabbath guy, in the
Yeah.
world.
Right?
His name, all these Sabbath albums, Deep Purple albums. He's in their music videos. Um,
Well,
Pete had so much in the industry. He had held up and helped so many artists that it was just he was giving me all this information, and I was just like, man, this is crazy. This is like really, this is a lot of information to take in.
yeah.
So me and Pete wound up being, like I said, we wound up being good friends, and but the biggest thing about Pete, he had this exalted life where he worked with all these major rock acts that we all admire and we all enjoy their music and
Yeah.
everything. But Pete was very barbaric. He was absolutely barbaric, and he was
Yes, he
overpowered
was.
and over the top, and he was just bombastic everywhere he went.
Yeah.
And he never had any. Wasn't going out here causing trouble so much, but he was like there was no enemies. He didn't want people to be enemies. He wanted people to be friends.
That's right.
And he was really a barbarian.
Yeah.
He fit the Joe Davis band persona perfectly. And I mean,
How
me and
about
him
it?
became friends. He wasn't to me. He was my friend, and he was also worked for my band. He also come in and took over my guitar duties and helped me with my stuff. And
That's
he
great.
brought forth the knowledge. He worked for Richie Blackmore as well. And that's how I got. That's where my first meeting with him was in Washington D.C. We were doing a thing at the Birchmire Theater, and Richie Blackmore was there, and Pete was there, and I go in, and it was really cool because I got to meet Richie Blackmore as well as get Pete all at the same time,
Wow.
and it's really incredible days. And so what happened was me and him wound up staying in communication constantly. The next thing you know, he's down here hanging around with me. He's like, come down here, and he stayed with me. And he brought his gear, he brought his road gear, his guitar tech stuff, and
Wow.
got 50 million stories of places that he had went.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome because I love the music business. I love the history of heavy metal and hard rock. And we would sit and talk for hours.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to sit and listen to him tell me how Manowar done this. He worked for Manowar,
Yeah.
and but yeah, he worked for a lot of different artists. I mean, from Brian May, there's just so many. I mean, there was just so many, and I learned a lot from Pete. I learned a heck of a lot. Probably more from him than anybody I had ever met in my travels.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
it was really crazy because Pete passed away
Yeah.
June of last year.
Yeah.
He
Rest
died on
in
my
peace,
birthday
Petey.
all day,
Yeah.
and so I'll never forget him. But I consider him one of my best friends in the entire world. And I know that there's artists out there and people that he worked with that he absolutely rubbed the wrong way. But Pete never meant went out his way to ever do anything bad to anybody
Right.
per se, like just to be difficult.
Right.
I know he had a turbulent past. I understand that,
Oh, yeah.
and I know there's probably a lot of things that God never wanted to tell anybody that he did.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things that he did bring to the table. I think Pete was trying to make peace with himself, his past, and a lot of things. The reason he was here was to bring us that knowledge that he had, so maybe we could take that, what he had learned, and maybe we could take it too and try to use it to help our own careers, help our own music,
Right.
and help us. Because he brought a lot to the table. He made me and a lot of my old friends, people that I had down here. He'd like to bring us all together.
Right.
Like he would. I mean, I remember he was over at my dad's helping him work on the barn. And
Wow.
if somebody had, when I was a kid, that Tony Iommi's guitar tech was going to be working on my dad's barn with my dad, I would have never believed it in 10 billion years. I know Rusty website, and on that pictures, I've got video of Pete running a sawzall with my dad on top of the barn.
That's great.
and I never would have dreamed in 10 million years. And my dad and Pete got along great. And my friends, they all love Pete. The other guys that played music here in this area, they were all met too. I invited them all over. I said, everybody, we got to get together.
Right.
I want y'all to meet, because he had that knowledge and that charisma.
Yeah.
You know, he had been there and done it. He fought the Rock and Roll War,
Yeah,
and they beat it all up.
Yeah.
And we're fighting the fight. We're heavy metal, hard rock music guys, and he was he'd been there, so it was great to share his experiences with these other people too. And I know he made an impact on you guys as well up there in Pennsylvania.
Crown of Earth, yeah. 2 years I had the opportunity to have Pete on tour with us, and man, it was like 3 years of knowing this guy, 2 years on tour. I tell you, he's told me things I'll take to the grave, and he was a huge mentor to me as a bass player, guitar player, musician, and like you said, I'm never going to forget the things he told me, the inspiration he brought me, and rest in peace, Pete, man. And again, we don't do this because it was last
reflections of a different time, where a man stood strong for what was right. Hard times met with prayer. The war I fight is still there, as the swords are beat into plowshares. The war machine rolls on. The hands of time are made in stone.
All right, we're back with Joe Davis and the Joe Davis Band. What's up, Joe? Hey, the last time we talked on the about a few minutes ago, you said Pete Rusty. We talked about an icon in the business. He really was an icon, even though he was never recognized. And we know that personally, working with this amazing legend with all the bands he worked with: Sabbath, Purple, Man of War, you name it, Judas Priest, Brian May, Queen. I mean, God, this guy did sound at the Live Aid, for God's sake, for Queen. How amazing is that? But Joe, what I want to do now is I want to talk about how you're dealing with, like I ask everybody, and we all know as musicians, how this COVID-19 has put a really major rein on our parade as musicians and venues to play. How are you handling that?
Well, I guess right when this thing really broke out across the media and I guess across the country, we had just released The Blue and the Gray, our brand new album.
Right.
And what it done was it started, by the time it hit and was printed and was sent out to get to people, it seemed like people were being out of work. So it was kind of like, I think everybody was really focused on staying home and trying to remain calm while this thing was taking off, and that people didn't know what to think. So it definitely diverted our record sales. We noticed our internet traffic wasn't the same as normal. A lot of our fans that we've had a long time relationship with, a lot of people we show our music to and everything, they were all like, hey, hold on a minute, I got to take care of my family's at home this week, or we've got to go do this.
Sure.
And so it definitely deviated the release of the album. It changed the landscape of how the album was going to be released, because it didn't just, normally we make a record, we kind of got an idea how many we'll sell right off, and we're pretty comfortable with that and everything. But all of a sudden this one didn't. It didn't affect, like, people bought more digital copies instead of physical copies because they didn't want to get anything in the mail. And then immediately, all the venues and shows that we had coming up, different artists we had talked with about touring and was working with different people,
Right.
Immediately they all stopped. They were like, hold on, we don't know what's going to happen. And we actually knew bands that were friends of ours, bigger bands,
Right.
that right when it trapped overseas or trapped in some strange city, when they started shutting stuff down where they couldn't even get home because they were having issues with transportation, money, tour support wasn't going exactly as planned.
Sure.
Sponsors wasn't going exactly right, and there was a lot of 2 or 3 big artists that I know that got trapped overseas that couldn't even get back.
Wow.
And they were fighting just to get back to the United States. So it definitely changed them. And we, fortunately for us, all of our tour dates, show dates, were way out from, because we were spending all of our time promoting the record online anyway. And in months to come, we had plans. We had some the Fillmore in Charlotte. We had been in heavy conversations with them about coming back and doing another big show with them.
Okay.
And all that stuff got pushed off, canceled. It was actually backed up, and then it was eventually inevitably canceled.
Right.
And it wound up, all dates got canceled, and all the booking agents and business people we were working with were like, well, let's all wait and see what happens. We don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
So we wound up having to just stop. We had to stop. And so we kept rehearsing, and we've been working the internet and sending out stuff to our friends. But there's all these negatives and everything, but there's some positives too.
Right.
They're positive. A lot of the stuff that we had put off, a lot of broken equipment got fixed.
Okay.
A lot of song ideas that were tossed in the back room got pulled back out in the light. Our lighting show got fixed. All of our lighting stuff got fixed. Personal issues with the band. There was people who had things going on at home. Everybody had time to really go do things that they needed to do at home.
Right.
With trying to always be in the positive thoughts about it, but it gave us some time to maybe appreciate a little bit of different things going on with us at home too. So
Right.
it gave me some time. It gave me some time to catch up on, like I said, tons of broken guitar equipment, amplifiers, bits and pieces of things, calling up some old friends we ain't seen in forever,
Right.
and getting to spend some of our family that we never get to see.
Right.
So there was a positive in there. There was a
Sure,
positive
sure.
in there.
Awesome. All right. Well, Joe, again, I want to thank you so much for coming through the Rockin' House and, telling these awesome stories and some of the experiences you had were amazing. So, thank you again for coming to the Rockin' House. We appreciate your time to come out and tell these stories to everybody. And if there's any way you want to mention to some people, like, where they can reach the Blue and the Gray album, websites, whatever it may be, we can get that information to them. You can mention it here. I'll make sure it's in this video as well, so you can find Joe's material, find all his information that you wanted, because his band rocks. You got to check these guys out, man. The Hand of God, one of the killer songs on the Blue and the Gray. I love that song. But I said, man, I'll tell you, Joe, keep going strong. I like your attitude, and God bless you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Here's the web address is thejoedavisband.com.
Okay.
And we're very active on social media on all different forums. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We could actually be reached anytime anybody wants to reach out to me. Send me an email, send me a message. I always respond.
Okay.
We're a little bit different than a lot of these artists out here that just don't have time for anybody.
Right.
I may not today, but I'm going to get to you. And we always make sure that we reach out like that, because we're friends with people. I mean, we're a very personal band. We're down to earth about that, and we like to share our music. Like I said, it's thejoedavisband.com, and then Facebook. I think you can find me on there. There's the Joe Davis Band or JDB Rocks, or just look up Joe Davis. Just look for the overalls. You'll find me. And we're all.
That's great, man. Heavy metal and overalls. I love it, man. It's great. Again, Joe, this is it for today. Thank you again for stopping by the Rockin' House. I'm Marky Z, signing off with my partner, Rock Dude.